I'm still at the coalface. I'm in the trenches, still being an advisor. I'm not a CEO. I know what I'm good at. I know I'm good at talking to clients, and I'm good at helping advisors build their business. The intricacies of running a business, there are better people than me to do that. I think it was looking at Jamie Vardy, it's like he still thinks he can go and do what he could do when he's 21 years old. And I think of myself as an advisor going, do I want to carry on being an advisor for the next 10, 15 years? I'm now falling into that Mel, Pell and Stell. I am now that thing that I always looked at and went, oh my God.
What's going on in your mind at that point then? Is it when you say like you feel yourself going that way? Let's kind of like, our listeners might be going that way as well and feeling that way. So what does it feel like to you? What is tried and tested in your career that's never changed and always gets you moving forward towards winning business, even when you feel like you don't want to do it?
I want to tell everyone about the mistakes I've made. Probably the worst PR exercise of all time. But I don't want to be that person that says, oh, you want to be like me because look how wonderful I am. That's not the way to teach. I want to teach people how not to make the mistakes or learn from my mistakes. I believe in the advisor enough to put my money into their businesses underneath us, and that helps them grow their business. I'm on the line for that, and that's what I want to do for them. I want to see them grow. I want them to, to be brilliant at what they're good at.
So Wayne, thank you so much for joining me finally on the Financial Planner Life podcast. I've been asking and knocking on your door so many times. You just turned me down every time. You said to me, come back to me, Sam, when you got a top 10 podcast. And here I am.
It's been a long time. I remember standing in my living room talking to you about it, and it's just, I've been looking forward to it so much. And, I feel like a bit of a proud dad moment. I've looked at you for years and just gone, how you doing is just amazing. What you do is fantastic. And it's just amazing. Really good.
Do you know what? You've always been a really big advocate. And you've always been somebody that I've phoned up and spoken to and looked up to myself. Even back in the days when I spoke to you when I was doing the articles. Remember that for Two Plan? And I had that kind of partnership and we did a conversation back then. You've been running a business now for how long?
So 12 years, we're 13 years in January.
13 years for One Financial Solutions.
Yeah.
A business that I've always admired, one of the best businesses at Two Plan.
Yeah, it's and I have to give Two Plan credit. Without them, we wouldn't have grown the business. They've supported us all the way through the journey. It started out of a flat. Me and my business partner, the operations director. We started it, and we had our firstborn, as in a guy called Paul Keeley. We name all our advisors like children, so they're our firstborn, secondborn, and we used to sit in this flat and we used to go, right, when we're really good at this is what we're going to do. We're going to have an office, and when we do all of this, and that's how the business has grown. When I interview someone new, I'll always say to them, never fear saying the words, when I was here, we used to do it this way, because the way we build the best business is by nicking everyone else's ideas. So if a power planner comes in and says, I used to work at so-and-so, and they used to use this software and it's really, really good, you're not going to get me saying, oh, I'll take that idea and I'm going to go and work it out. You'll get me go back to you, say, right, off you go. That's brilliant. I love that idea. Fantastic. Thanks for doing that. Don't fear saying, when I was here, we do it this way. I wanted to adopt that, but I'm empowering you now to go and actually do that as a project and bring it to me. And so I think we've grown by taking on people, using their ideas, empowering them to come to us with ideas. We're 26 people now. We should hopefully be at 40 by the end of March next year. We have had some bumps along the way. Mostly driven by me thinking that I could do everything. And then last year we took a massive leap and built a leadership team. And that leadership team now run the business. I'm still at the coalface. I'm in the trenches, still being an advisor. I'm not a CEO. I know what I'm good at. I know I'm good at talking to clients, and I'm good at helping advisors build their business. The intricacies of running a business, there are better people than me to do that.
Oh, same. I'm glad you said that. We're not all born to. I had a recruitment business, right? And I'm not a CFO. I'm not somebody that gets excited about processes. In fact, I really love the idea of them. I really do, right?
Yep.
And I can visualize them and I can see them and I can articulate what it is that I want. But if you put me in front of it to do it, like even try to engage with somebody to do it, I find it really hard, like
Yeah.
really stressful. Almost, I need that person who's working alongside me. You can take my idea and then run with it. Is that you then? Is it you're
Yeah.
in that space?
Yeah, I think that I also have to be very cautious of my emotional roller coaster, as in decision makings when you got highs and lows.
Yeah.
Is maybe not the best, best time. So I like being the center point of everyone coming to me with ideas.
Yeah, I know.
And I like to know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem for me. It's not a control freak. It's I like to know what's going on. But yeah, I like other people to go and do what they're good at, and that don't like using the word empower, but seeing them excited by what they're good at,
Yeah.
is brilliant. Seeing other people just doing what they excel at is so good.
Because you're growth minded, right? You
100%.
You enjoy that. You're a hunter. You're a dopamine guy, man. You want to go out there and win.
Yeah, I think there are lots of things that are going on in my mind at the moment. I'm a massive football fan. And I look at footballers as they're coming towards the end of their careers and go, what's their next fix? What's their next that's going to inspire them? And I think it was looking at Jamie Vardy, and it's like he still thinks he can go and do what he could do when he's 21 years old. And I think of myself as an advisor going, do I want to carry on being an advisor for the next 10, 15 years? I'm now falling into that Mel, Pell and Stell. I am now that thing that I always looked at and went, oh my God, everyone's this type of person. And I'm getting inspired as much teaching other people to advise as I am seeing clients. So I still love being an advisor, but I can feel that change in me that I've got however long I've got left to enjoy being an advisor. But I'm getting more and more each year inspiring people running their businesses underneath us and seeing them change and how well they do.
Well, let's just bring that into the light then, because there's probably people, well, there is, the average age of an advisor is like 56, 57 years old. So there's plenty of people that are approaching that next phase of their career. And, it is the phasing out and going on to the next chapter in life,
Yep.
Which is towards retirement, right? What's going on in your mind at that point then? Is it when you say like you feel yourself going that way? Let's kind of like our listeners might be going that way as well and feeling that way. So what does it feel like to you?
It feels so. There's nothing wrong. I'm 53, right? There's nothing wrong with being a 65-year-old financial advisor and doing it 45 years.
Yeah.
If that's what they're still passionate about and what still drives them, and they're still really good at it. So I'm not sort of jumping on the bandwagon to go, oh my God, we should only ever recruit 18-year-olds into the business to bring average age down. But I think for me as an individual, I've made thousands of mistakes in my career. Okay. And some of those have been really, really costly. And when I see youngsters coming into the business now, I sound like an old granddad. Youngsters, 25-year-olds. When I see them come into the business, they're all going through that same process and have the same ideas that I had 30 years ago. And I want to go to them, no, stop, don't do that, because I did that and it cost me thousands or 6 months of my time. So when I help other people, the feeling for me at the moment is I want to tell everyone about the mistakes I've made. Probably the worst PR exercise of all time. But I don't want to be that person that says, oh, you want to be like me because look how wonderful I am. That's not the way to teach. I want to teach people how not to make the mistakes or learn from my mistakes. And I get that I go and see like 4 clients in a day, and I get the drive from, I still love seeing the client. I just hate the paperwork that comes afterwards.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I hate the paperwork. I hate the follow-up. We have to do it, but the nice thing is sitting with a client, talking to them. I've said this hundreds of times over the years. I think I've had tens of thousands of experiences in my life. 99% of them are actually through the eyes of my clients. The stories they tell me, the experiences they've had, all their memories. And I might go and repeat that to another client, or I might repeat it to another advisor. I still get inspired by that. But it's coming back to the office, and then I get a phone call from another advisor saying, oh, do you remember that case we discussed? The client went ahead, and I can hear in their voice that they're even surprised themselves that the client actually believed and went ahead. And I'm like, which one feels, and they both feel equal at the moment. Go back 10 years ago, the client one would have felt much, much better than helping the advisor one.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's definitely drifting that way to, I feel like I feel great when other people do really, really well.
But this is it. It's not black and white, right?
No.
There is a transition. So you're transitioning away from being 100% geared towards the client hunt, which makes sense when you're in a stage of your life where money is massively important because you want to build a home, family, all that kind of stuff. So it's hunt. And all of a sudden you kind of flip it slightly. And then that joy is coming from seeing those people that are on that journey and passing on the experience that you've had so they hopefully don't make mistakes and get to the stage quicker, which to me shows leadership, mentorship, and coaching through experience. And I think, when you look at the younger generation that are coming through, the bit that they do lack is the experience of being client facing. That's the bit that they lack. And each and every time I speak to them, that's the bit they want to know how to do.
Yeah.
So being able to have a business like yours where people can come through it different stages and be able to lean into someone like you who is actually as excited about passing on the experience of how to win a client over and deliver great service as much as going out and doing it themselves is almost the perfect recipe for somebody in that stage of their career to actually tap into and plug into to help progress them. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to give up advising because I think from my point of view, when I'm trying to talk to other people about, how they're becoming an advisor, becoming a better advisor, I have to stay relevant.
Yeah.
So still having, business clients and personal clients is really important that I still do that. But I think one of the things that we need to get around is misconceptions. One of the misconceptions that I think we have is that younger advisors won't get on with certain clients because they haven't got any life experience. That's not correct. They don't have the life experience that we're telling them that they don't have. They've got other life experiences. I've got an amazing lad called Jasper who's at university, right? We're coaching him to become an advisor. Stunningly good footballer, got released from Leicester as a youngster. And at 21 years old, sat down with one of my clients who is going to, in their mind, they're probably sitting there going, what does this lad know about inflation, getting married, having kids, getting divorced, buying a house? Knows nothing. The dad's a massive Leicester fan. Okay. The mum's got a daughter who's, going through university, having a bit of a tough time. Jasper had, some good times and some bad times at university. And I might as well just left the room.
Yeah.
Because they were connecting and everything was fine. I can teach Jasper and we can teach Jasper how to be an advisor and all the technical stuff. But you've got to have it in you to want to talk to someone and ask them about their lives and learn from them, but actually be really interested in them, not their money, not their paperwork, just interested in them. And I sat there in that room and just went, it's a myth that everyone's going to go, 21 years old, going to know nothing, or how they were going to manage my money. Where do we start otherwise?
Yeah. I love the idea, like, be a journalist, right? Journalists are inquisitive. They want to know. They want to understand. They want to, they want somebody to provide them with an answer that is going to be interesting enough for them to also ask a follow-up question. I think that's the way to do it. It's like, you got this who is, use them, listen to what someone's actually saying, and really evolve as you're listening to what might come, and shut your mouth and don't interrupt people. Let them go through it, because just that extra 5 to 10 seconds of them talking could give you such key information, and you're like, I know exactly where this person's at right now, and it triggers something in you, and then you can ask an emotive question that will lead them on even further. And that's the skill, isn't it? Early doors. It's, don't try to prove yourself. Don't say like, I do this, I do that, and I know this about the markets, and I know understand this, and I've got this many qualifications, and I can teach you everything you need to know about investing. It's like, they don't give a shit. They just want to know that someone's actually listening to them and
caring,
understands and cares, and asks them about maybe some of the fears or worries or troubles. That emotional intelligence is probably the most important thing regardless of whether you're a financial planner, right? It's the most important thing in an early stage of a career. How can I emotionally connect with this person in a way that makes them like me?
But we're not focusing enough on that. You deal with a couple of them. There are some amazing academies out there. And the academies are brilliant at getting you through your exams and teaching you technical knowledge. I'm not so sure they're great on the other stuff. Now, that's where I think your AR principals or your the leader of the business should really come in with their skill set. And there's nothing wrong to say that certain people get on with certain people. I've got another lovely girl in my office, Alice has, she's been sort of taught that, when you work in the industry, it's selling. Okay. And I sit there and I go, Alice, you're brilliant. You're going around and seeing people with me, having a cup of tea, 2 minute slice of cake. But you come away from that meeting, they've told you all about their nieces and nephews and their money. They've told you about the next door neighbour, because they're not fearful of you. They really enjoy your company and they want to open up and talk to you about things. And I think that the best advisors can talk to the fund manager and can talk to the fund manager's grandparent, and will be different with different people. They're the best at, that old being able to sell a pen 4 different ways. But you must do it naturally. It must be in you to want to be that person that deals with all the different clients. Nothing wrong with just only dealing with fund managers and being an ultra high net worth advisor. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a place for people who just want to be, using the old words, hunters and farmers, that just want to look after a book of clients that are lovely clients and just know everything about them. Our industry at the moment seems to be infighting about exams, infighting about restricted and IFA, infighting about who's better than everyone else. Do you see solicitors doing that? Do you see accountants doing that?
No, not at all. I want to get into that in a minute with you, but there was something that we're talking about here, which I think is really important. I love the way that you have a boutique practice that you're growing, right? And actually, I think your practice is going to grow even faster when you start to make that transition, if you like, from being 100% all in on your clients into being a bit of 50-50 and then moving then into the ecosystem of educating the advisors. And I think that because from a conduit perspective, you've got so many years of experience, Wayne, and I know how personable you are and how much you care about your clients. And I think what I also know about you is that you love talking about that.
Yeah.
So when you talk to your clients and an advisor might observe you and you ask those open questions, I bet you're the type of person that goes back and talks about the experience, what you asked, and then question the advisor as to what perhaps they might have learned and what else they could learn after the conversation. What could have been done differently? What might you have asked them? Here's some opportunities. Here's some more things. And you start to go a bit deeper on it. Is that something that you like to create? Is that
100%? New advisors, we offer them the opportunity to come out on appointments with me and I'll go out on appointments with them.
Yeah.
And that's not how I was originally trained, where a sales manager would sit behind the client's back with a clipboard saying, did they give out a business card in terms of business letter? I sit there with a client, I sit there with an advisor and say, what was there any phrases that I used that you liked, that you'd like to use yourself? But more importantly, was there anything that I said and you went, I looked at the client's eyes and they might not have liked that? I said, because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
So what went well, what didn't go well, tell me about it and be honest. And because if there's other ways I can do things that I'm going to be even better, then talk to me about it. I think COVID's been, and I'm massive about this, COVID's been difficult for a lot of advisors coming into the industry. I was very fortunate that I learned in a bank, and you'd sit in amongst loads of other advisors who were listening to everything that's going on all the time. We're very quick to rush to everyone working from home and having Teams meetings, and that it takes longer to learn experiences when you're not sitting there amongst amazing power planners, amazing advisors who come back in and talk about a customer they've just seen. You mentioned it there. You have to talk about these things because you're going to come across something new.
Yeah.
And you go, I don't understand this one. What do I do about it? There are going to be people who are far better at trust work than me, people that might be better at offshore than me. We have our areas that we're really strong in and areas that we're maybe not so strong in. But we have to then get round this. We all have this fear of that every advisor should walk into the room as an encyclopedia. We've got this, everyone seems to think an advisor should know absolutely everything about everything in front of a client. Do solicitors know that? Or do they go, do you know what? I'll do some research on that. I'll come back to you. There seems to be this fear that we can't do that. And there's nothing wrong with going to see someone, talking about it amongst other people. You might get 10 different ideas, but coming back and talking to people as a group of people going, I'd look at it this way, I'd look at it that way.
Yeah. Well, that's the emotional connection to money again, isn't it? And the insecurity and feeling like the imposter syndrome element. And that's even more rife in younger people anyway coming through. So the next generation that are coming through. But it's not just that. It's like, I'm 43 years old, mate. I still get that. I still have that kind of feeling. And the only way that I can work through it and elevate my level of understanding is by coming into a situation where I can talk and ask questions and break it down and look at it from a different example. And I am a bit of a nightmare with people because I will dissimulate something and I'll keep going and keep going and keep going because it's just how my brain works, man. I like to know the depths and the levels of what I'm actually understanding and what I'm learning. And it's not from an emotionally manipulative perspective that I can walk into a room and dominate the conversation. It's just from a place of understanding. Because it allows me to shut up again and it allows me to kind of understand and ask the right question again that I know is going to lead somebody down to a place where they're going to go, holy shit, now I'm working it out. Sam sat in front of me and he's spoken for 5 minutes, which is very much a rarity. But I understand. And that's the bit that I love is getting somebody in front of me to work it out without having to hammer them with the reasons why I think they should work it out.
I think the other thing we're it's not just will be me. Everyone else out there might be, not thinking this way. But I now make a conscious effort to ask people before a meeting starts, as in, how best do they learn? So do they? I'm very pictorial. So I like making scruffy notes during a meeting, and I find a lot of my clients of an age group will sit and look at those notes, and because they can visualize those notes, that helps them to remember things. And so I'll say to a client, is that, do you prefer I write notes while I'm sitting with you and you can read those notes with you? Prefer that I follow up with a detailed document, like if you're going to use an AI note taker, send those to you, or do you want to make your own notes? We all learn differently and we remember differently, and we're not rushing into vulnerable client territory here. We're talking about people learn a certain way, and it's important that they understand things. It's important that fundamentally clients should come to an advisor because they either make their life easy, or they come to an advisor because they can help them understand things in the way that they can understand them.
Yeah.
Our industry is forcing clients to come to us because they feel they have to have an advisor, because we use terms all the time, and we're developing even more terminology that makes it even more confusing, because people are worried that the clients are going to go direct to consumer, direct to a platform, and there's fear about that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, most clients won't do that. They like you. And they like reading things and then go, can you explain that to me? And one of the best things that'll ever happen is if you get a client ring you up and say, I know you think I'm going to be an idiot, or I know you think this is going to be silly. If they're opening up enough to say to you, you're going to think I'm a bit silly asking this question, then that person trusts you.
Yeah.
And the FCA has that term, trusted advisor. That's key to what we do. Client rings up, they're in a position where they want to trust you and they believe in your experience and believe in you, and they want your opinion on something. And that might be about buying a car.
That's very true. Yeah, 100%. Let's go back to what you said earlier, IFA versus restricted. There's this infighting that often happens that we've seen on, LinkedIn and money marketing. I think, there was a big phase of that. And especially when your likes of SJP are in the news, etc., people just jump on the bandwagon, want to bash everybody who isn't what they think the perfect financial advisor. And it causes, I think, negativity, an echo chamber of confusion.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the outside looking in and we so desperately need new people to join us and get ahead in the financial planning profession, and there's this weird kind of infighting going on, not only is that look shit for clients, but it's not good for attracting talent, right?
Yeah. You've only invited me on because I won't sit on the fence, and basically the comments are going to be really bad. So you've heard me say this a few times. I'm only the IFA that I am because I had 17 years restricted. Okay, so I started off working for a direct Salesforce company in 93, Allied Dunbar. Went to 95, joined Midland Bank in 95, which became HSBC. I had 17 amazing years there, and I've got some amazing friends. I had some amazing bosses there. What that enabled me to do, to only have one product suite, it enabled me to go out and talk to clients for 90% of the meeting about them. it's honed me into being the person I am, inquisitive, nosy. You talk to the clients, because when I came back, I didn't have to do 6 hours worth of research. And that made me who I am. The only time, and so there's nothing wrong with restriction, nothing wrong with restricted advice versus, a whole of market advice or IFA. There are just as many great restricted advisors that I know as there are terrible IFAs. But the truth is, restriction doesn't work if the product isn't very good. Okay. So if you work for a company that is giving restricted advice and that product is as good as other products in the marketplace, I will stand there with you and say there's nothing wrong with restricted advice. Okay. If the product isn't good, then you need to have a look at what you're doing, because you are now advising on something that would you advise on that to your friends, your family, your parents, your grandparents. If you wouldn't, that's not correct. But yeah, that whole restricted versus IFA, when you see an IFA pick on an SJP person and an SJP person fight back, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it makes us look dickheads.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, it does. It just makes us all look stupid. And it is not just from a reputational point of view across the industry. It's a human point of view. When you're saying nothing wrong, I'm very proud to be an IFA. Okay. And you'll see me talk about being proud to be an IFA. You won't see me go, I'm proud to be an IFA because restricted advisors are rubbish.
Yeah.
You can be proud of what you do without belittling what other people's do.
100%.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it looks so emotionally insecure as well, I think, and it just makes me look at that person and go, you're insecure because you're attacking people. Yeah, well, from what perspective? And I know restricted propositions, whole of market restricted, right? Yeah. Some of the energy and the effort that goes into actually selecting those product ranges and the research that goes into it, it's probably more than what most IFAs are doing.
Yep.
It's insane the amount of energy and the effort that goes in, the investment committees they have, and what is actually done. It's a bit old school now to kind of shit on it, really, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It completely is. And I think we're in a position now where, before I was an IFA, and there's still IFAs out there that do it, and they do it very, very well. But, I look at it and go, can you really be a one-man band IFA and saying that you're running your own investment committee? Now you can if you're outsourcing that to a fund house, Square Mile, RSMR, research house that are going to do all your work for you. But can you do that and then also actually go and see 15 clients a week or 12 clients a week? It's very, very tough. I look at it and I go, I give advice. I'm not an investment house. I'm not an investment research analyst. It's not what I do. We use fund house who are just unbelievable. They give us the information, they give us the insights into stuff that I talk about to our clients. And I'm sure the OpenWorks, SJPs, your Quilters, Foster de Novo, all the companies out there that are doing all that work for their advisors, they probably don't get the praise that they probably should get for all that work they do for their advisors.
Yeah.
I probably haven't named the right people, but hey.
I think we get it. Yeah, 100%. I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on. Let's move across into financial planning, okay, and the services and the solutions that are being offered to clients. And when I was working for Aviva, which was like 20 years ago, I was a trainer, and it was always protection first, then it was pensions, and then it was investments.
Yep.
And I think often you find with financial planners these days, there's such a heavier focus on investment, and that protection doesn't seem to get as much airtime. You have featured on the podcast that I produce for Legal in General. Nice little plug there. If anybody else looking for a podcast, give us a shout. But yeah, so I produce that podcast. It's all about protection and the value that protection has. And I've had some great guests on here, like Guy Skinner, who is such a huge advocate of protection. Where does protection sit within the advice process for you? And is it an area where it gets overlooked and could be a great place for people to start to kickstart their career?
It's massively overlooked. If you can get the opportunity to start being in front of clients, that's what we need to do. Get client experience. Now, if that means the quickest way for you is to go through an academy and then you get your first couple of exams, which means you can be a protection advisor, then a protection and mortgage advisor, then that's a great way to start learning in front of clients. The problem that I see, and it's happened to me, is that we then move on. Instead of saying we've built up a protection business, let's add to it with pensions and let's add to it to investments. We sort of build up a protection business and then go, oh, we're going to move on to this new shiny toy, which is a pension. And people maybe stop talking about it. What we do for our clients is being there at a time of need. And that time of need is kids going to university, buying a home, retiring. But when's the most critical time of need? When a loved one dies or something like that, a critical illness. And that's that trusted advisor. If we walk away from that, we're not really financially planning the clients anymore. There will be people who don't have a protection need. But if we haven't covered that protection need, we're not really the financial advisor they thought we were, because we're not looking after them.
So how does somebody start a conversation that can often feel uncomfortable, perhaps talking about the idea of death and perhaps someone getting critically ill? How do you approach conversations? What approach do you have to being able to bring to light what potentially could happen, which could be quite nasty for a family, right? How do you approach it? Do you have examples of clients that you've worked with, situations that you've been in?
100%. All the people that have been on the Legal & General podcast, they talked about how they've helped people. Most of them talking like I do claims. Claims, and when you see people who have benefited from a claim and what you actually done for them or what the life insurance has paid out, it's life-changing and you want to tell other people about it. So it's not selling the policy because it's paying you commission.
Yeah.
It is actually recommending what they need. And if a client then goes, I don't want it, hey, that's fine. You've done your job. You sleep at night saying they came to me for advice. I gave advice. But talking about your personal experiences, and that might be your experiences that you've heard from another advisor in the office that, that's now become a personal experience to you. But that's a good door opener as such. I think also we overlook the most simplest, and the most simplest is you sit with the client brings out all their documents and they've got some life insurance. Have they actually put that in trust? Very, very simple, very powerful. The advisor might have done an amazing job, done the life insurance and done the trust. They might have done the life insurance and then not got back to do the trust. Just looking at what they've got and is it set up correctly doesn't necessarily mean you're going to earn any money, but you're earning that person's trust. And you're there as their trusted advisor. They want your help and support, and your help and support might just be completing a piece of paper that means there's no inheritance tax on a payout. No. Being open and honest and say, I'm here to help. That's what you do as an advisor.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, definitely. When I speak to financial planners who totally value the life cover, critical illness, or income replacement plans, they all talk about stories. It's the stories of what could happen or what did happen to somebody that I know and the claims process. And then it becomes a peace of mind conversation, doesn't it? It's like, do you want that peace of mind? Can you put your head on the pillow at night and know that if you were to, I don't know, more than likely get a critical illness, right, as opposed to die, right?
Yeah.
What actually would you do in that situation? Because most of us kind of sit there and we worry a little bit about that. But actually, when you've got a piece of paper, it's in your vault, and it's saying that, your wife and your daughter is going to be looked after if you die, you're kind of like, well, even in death, I guess they're sorted. So it's kind of like a nice, comforting feeling, although it doesn't have to be dark, does it? Like, protection is an idea of peace of mind.
It is. It definitely is. I mean, I think on the podcast, I gave the statistics, which was at that point I'd had 17 critical illness claims and only one death claim.
Right.
But the death claim was my closest friend. So, for me, I tell people about that, and I tell them how it affected their family. What that meant to me to be able to, to make sure they're okay. But it also reassured me that when I'm recommending life cover, sometimes you need the reassurance that you're not doing it because it, is paying you an income. You are actually doing it because you see the end result. And we'd all love to go through life and no one pass away, no one has critical illness, and everyone you tell them to retire at 55 years old. Shit doesn't happen like that. It's just, and it's raw, and it's like you just have to explain to people, but you can't go through life going protection most important. You'll come across some customers and you'll go, you really need this, and you can sit there and go, in a harsh world, they're struggling to put food on the table and roof over their head. Your job is not to sit there and go, oh, but what happens if this happens? You haven't got life cover. No, your job is to, clients should always be financially better off after seeing an advisor, not worse off.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally it. And if you can help them save money in other ways by redoing their mortgage or refinancing or whatever, and that enables you to then get a premium that can protect them, you've got to put the client first and look after them.
Yeah, love it. I love it. So I want to finish on what is tried and tested in your career that's never changed and always gets you moving forward towards winning business, even when you feel like you don't want to do it.
Oh, that's a tough one. Tried and tested. Constantly think the client has to be better off after seeing you, not worse off. Why'd you go and see someone that they're going to cost you more money than they're saving you, or, not making you better off? So always think that about a client, and that means I sleep at night. That's really important to me, that, that imposter syndrome. I really want my clients to be walking around and saying, you're not going to see Wayne, he's a really good guy, he's a really nice person, he's a great advisor. The fear of anyone ever saying, oh, that Wayne is not a very good advisor, that would definitely, partially finish me, that I thought that someone thought that about me. So that drive to do a good job for someone's really, really good. That what's keeping me going at the moment? What's keeping me going at the moment is, last year we had a really, really good growth spurt in the amount of advisors came on board. Those advisors this year, wow, there's people there that I'm never going to name them because they're far better than me. But they are just unbelievable advisors, and it inspires me because I'm learning from them. I'm not going to tell them I'm learning from them, but they're brilliant. And it's inspiring me because maybe some of them I didn't think they were going to be as good as they really are. And I sit there and go, hey, I get it wrong every single day. They are brilliant. Having the younger advisors coming through, that's the real passion. I love my 40-year-olds that are going to be the next generations of me, but those 25-year-olds to 35-year-olds, they are so enthusiastic and so great. And I just don't want, I want to keep them because I don't want them to be damaged by anyone else.
Yeah. So you're creating that ecosystem at One Financial Solution. Yeah. It is that one financial solution, right? There isn't, we're only looking for people who are 25. We're only looking for people that are 40 or whatever. You're creating an ecosystem of learning and development. You're open, you're training, you're sharing, and you're creating a culture of excellence when it comes to the mindset in respect of the client story and the client journey.
We believe in our advisors. We've got numerous occasions of where we've gone out and borrowed money to lend money to advisors to buy a retiring advisor's book, and I'm standing as a personal guarantee on that. Now, I believe in the advisor enough to put my money into their businesses underneath us, and that helps them grow their business. Let's not lie. Yeah, I make a margin, so we make money out of it. But we are, I'm on the line for that, and that's what I want to do for them. I want to see them grow. I want them to, to be brilliant at what they're good at.
So is there a big commitment from you to grow and develop?
100%. And we're not, you mentioned it there before I took you off track. We don't just go, oh, we only want people that are ex-bank assurers. We've got a load of them. We don't want people that have gone through an academy that maybe aren't getting the support that they wanted to. Okay. We don't just want people that are getting to the end of their career and they're going, okay, I want to come to you now so that you can buy my book in the next few years. We want all of them because we have a business that can help everybody. We have a lovely guy called Mark French who's massively into emotional well-being and financial well-being in the corporate marketplace. So we don't charge it for him. We send him out to companies, and he goes in and he talks about the employee benefits package, but he'll also talk about emotion, your emotions towards money, how you feel about money, and the amount of people we talk to that don't understand money.
Yeah.
So we then get, from that, we get a constant stream of people saying, can you come and help us? And I'm at the point where, I'm probably, doing the accounts in the evening. I'm not really there to do the 6, 8 and 9 o'clock appointments every night anymore.
Yeah.
Still do some of them, but we are open to having people who are great advisors that maybe aren't great networkers and can't lead gen, because we've got more than enough to actually go, here's some clients. We've got advisors that will retire in the next few years. We'll help migrate those clients over to you. So there isn't an advisor that we wouldn't talk to.
Great. So there's huge opportunity that's going on there at One Financial Solutions. It doesn't look like you're slowing down. You're developing more client relationships, but this new leadership team that you've got in place as well is creating that real strong structure, and is creating an environment where people can either inherit clients potentially, whether it's retiring IFAs, an ecosystem where you can support people to develop their own business, but also the potential to feed off of the great work that you're doing around things like the employee benefit side.
Yeah, 100%. All of the leadership team that we have all worked in teams. So they've all either been advisors, then sales managers, then national sales managers, or they've been a very successful advisor that have then trained other advisors. So because of that, they're very much driven by, we want people to come to us to be part of the family. The only people we won't take on is individuals that come to us that just go, I'll have my garden shed and I'll trade all on my own, and I'm not really interested in being part of the family. We want everyone to feel part of the family. As I say, everyone's the firstborn, seventhborn, 10thborn, so we look after everyone like that. And the whole leadership team is there to support the growth. The best thing they ever done was bringing on people that are non-selling. So, we've got 5 people in a leadership team of 8 that don't advise clients.
Okay.
They're there to support the advisors.
Perfect. So that wonderful. Again, it goes back to the business that is supporting.
Yeah.
There is a lot about you and me where we are connected in the sense of how we think.
100%.
We're both a bit neurospicy, aren't we?
To say the least.
We got the same sort of philosophy in life really as well, I think, and that's important. And that's a good thing that guys can openly discuss their feelings, how they feel, how hard business can sometimes be, how we're perceived by others, especially around social media, for example. That can make us feel a bit less than sometimes.
I think definitely there's an element of, we've got rawness and we've lost our embarrassment about, welling up and being tearful about things. There's nothing wrong with that, in that when I talk to you about things that are troubling me, or we just talk about things about how other people are struggling, there's nothing wrong with being emotional about it. There really isn't.
No. And you're always a big supporter as well with the men's mental fitness, whether it's physical fitness, whether it's mental fitness. Tell us about some of the things that you get up to in your community, some of the things you do to connect with other men, to make sure that you're almost always really there for others and emotionally supporting others as well as looking after yourself.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to be truthful about your own mental struggles and talk to other people about them. We had a conversation recently about that, in that, I sit there sometimes and I talk to my brain and go, why are you not normal? Why have I got these thoughts? Why can't I be like all these other people on LinkedIn that are driving the best businesses, and they all seem as though they've got everything going for them, and why is my brain going this way? And then you sit there and go, actually, no, it's not the word normal. We're all unique. My brain drives me this way, it makes me actually slightly better than someone else or different to someone else. And it can really get you down sometimes. But the truth is, it's about your support network around you. And because I've got an amazing support network, I then realised that, can I be support for other people? Because if someone's helping you, you owe it to them to help someone else. And I think, that's really, really important. But Yeah, I get into things like boxing, football, stuff like that. Don't box anymore. I should, because I eat like I'm boxing, but I'm no longer boxing anymore. But I get that passion from watching other people box and play football to a decent standard, and they're the amount of people that you see, high functioning sports people that are neurodiverse as well, and the reason they're good at what they do is because of the way their brain works. You then start to get it that actually neurodiversity is a great thing. It makes us what we are, rather than a bad thing and shoved in a corner.
Yeah. The bit like, yes, great example. The bit that I struggle with the most, really, with myself, I had a diagnosis of ADHD, which in its own right almost spins you out a little bit, because you kind of then start looking at yourself a little differently, and then look back on your life and your past and think, oh my God, I can understand, everything makes sense now. But you get a bit sad as well.
Yep.
And then you start kind of hyper focusing on the fact that you have been diagnosed with it, and then you start looking into it even more, and it kind of fucks you up for a little bit. It kind of derails you for a little bit. But as you said, it's recognizing the areas and the parts where it adds value in your life, and then the bits where you are finding it challenging. So for me, this perceived rejection sensitivity, this idea that I'm not good enough, or that someone's going to tell me off. It's really weird, right? I get this heightened sense of feeling that even if I'm doing all right, that I'm not doing all right.
Yeah.
That someone's going to come and tell me off or something. It's really, really weird. And I'm 43 years old, and I feel like a little boy sometimes in that sense. And when I learned about this rejection sensitivity, and it's not about being rejected, because I can handle rejection, it's perceived rejection that I struggle with, this fear.
Yeah. And I think there's, that then goes into, you ask questions of yourself that you then make up the answers. So you go, right, if someone does this, that's going to mean that. So that then means this. And you actually haven't been rejected in the first place.
Yeah.
Your brain is spiraling. And I think that comes from your ups and down days. And your down days are the days when you need, actually, your ups and down days, you need people around you all the time, because your up days, you actually do need someone to go, is there a crash coming, and we need to be around you. Yeah. So there are things that are important. So definitely, I see it very much with boxing and football, that exercise, I wish I did more of it, but that exercise definitely helps with the leveling out. There's nothing wrong with talking to people about medication. I think it's really important that we talk about it, but it's really important that we talk about actually the good things. We spoke about this the other day. There are personality traits from an ADHD person that are amazing personality traits, absolutely fantastic. And you would go, if I was in this line of business, I'd just fill the room full of ADHD people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to talk that way, because otherwise we're still not there. We're still, people talk about mental health, and we talk about men's mental health, and we don't necessarily then link that to people who've got ADHD or have got autistic traits or OCD. They've all got anxiety issues that go with it. Yeah. And there are some amazing clinicians out there that they know everything. I know nothing. They will know. But it's getting people to, especially men, to reach out and go, do you know what? It's not right that I don't feel normal. It's not right that I have imposter syndrome. It's not right that I'm sitting there thinking, why is everyone else better than me? And also when you turn on yourself and go, my brain's not working. It's not working the way I think it should. Why am I negative? Why have I got bad thoughts? That's when someone else needs to come to you and say, you need to go and talk to someone. You need to talk to friends, work colleagues, partners, and just let it out.
Yeah. I agree, mate. Talking and listening is like one of the most powerful things, which is why, I've connected with you over the past, and, I've told you things that are going on in my head that I haven't told everybody, because I just know there isn't a judgment coming. And I think that's the powerful thing, is when you can connect with and build an audience and a network of people that don't judge you for feeling vulnerable.
Yep.
Is power. And that gives you the space to be able to articulate something that in your head at that point in time almost feels shame and guilt, right? And that's a terrible thing to hold on to, right?
It is. And when you get the right people around you, like my leadership team at work are just unbelievable, and my friends and family are unbelievable. Not everyone needs to cuddle you. I need a kick every now and again.
Yeah.
So, I've got a really good friend of mine, Alan, an ex-professional boxer who trains the boxers that I sponsor. And, you know, I had a white collar fight and I was down and out after 2 rounds, didn't want to get up. And if it had given me a cuddle, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
You know, I needed a kick.
Yeah.
And I think that we all need people around us. That I need someone that sometimes just puts a bit of fun back into life. I need somebody who wants to give me a cuddle. I need somebody who needs to give me a kick. And you get the right people around you, and they can see the signs.
Yeah.
And when they see the signs, and you know you're open to getting that kick and that cuddle and that love, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to it.
Yeah, you do. And it's extremes, isn't it? Like I feel things in extremes.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't. I wish I was more balanced, but I don't. I feel things in extremes. So when I'm in that extreme place, like you say, you want that person who's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want that person who understands like the sensitivity that, okay, you are actually in a really shit place right now.
Yeah.
And I get it. And let's just bring you back on track with a bit of encouragement. And then once I've got that encouragement, I feel like I've got something out of my system that might to one person seem really stupid or silly. But to me, it's like literally the end of the world.
Yeah, and it's I find it might be different to other people. I find that actually when I'm being my most heightened and bravado, I'm actually hiding the bit where I'm most vulnerable.
Masking.
Yeah, because you are literally going, I'm thinking everyone here is looking at me thinking, you're nobody, you don't know what you're doing, or you're not good enough to be on stage, or whatever it might be. So you come out to prove that you are that way, and you are masking your own vulnerabilities and insecurities and things like that. So quite often that person that's the loudest, brashest in the room is also the most vulnerable.
No, 100%. I get that. So Wayne, what did you think of your first experience of the Financial Planner Life podcast?
It's been a long time coming. I'm not going to say I've enjoyed it, because I always tell people that this gig's quite a tough gig. So no, it's great. I so wanted to come and talk to you. You know, I just think that what you do is brilliant, and I'm just it's been a great experience.
Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on finally, and I'm looking forward to getting some more people on from One Financial Solutions. And I do believe that you're in the next stage of some serious growth, because the foundations are obviously clear, and it's an ethical company, and it's built off of trust, and it's exactly what I think is needed. But the foundation of that is you, Wayne. And I think your approach to client development, your approach to people, is what's going to make that business super attractive to advisors in the future.
If anyone ever wants to have just a chat about their own business, not to come to work for us, but just want to come and talk to me and just go, oh, I like this, or I like that, or can I have some advice on this? Just reach out to me. Honestly, I might not come back the same day, but please, I'm happy to talk to anyone about anything, because I think it's all about that connection, and you never know what's going to happen in the future.
Perfect. And I think they will. Cheers, Wayne. Thanks so much for your time.